Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is George Kingori. I'm your online finance guy who speaks about things finance, how you can be able to save, how you can be able to invest, and how you can be able to grow in your financial journey. And today, I've started a new segment and a new series on personal finances, and I will tackle questions for my own social media platforms to be able to help you in your financial journey. And today we are going to speak about somebody who has asked the question, is it okay to have liquid cash for emergency? Cash that sits somewhere, cash you do not need to invest, having a safety net or cushion against life unexpected events. So do you have certain amount of money in emergency? Personally, I'm going to speak from a personal experience, because as a person, as a family man, we also working in this financial journey. So for us, we do not have liquid cash lying around uninvested, waiting for an emergency to happen. But we do have money in investments that can be easily liquidated. So you could be able to sell off these investments within the day and be able to get funds latest the following day to be able to meet this emergency situation. Again, we have realized the more we have money sitting around in our bank accounts and even in cash, the more we are tempted to buy things that we do not necessarily need. The more we are tempted to look at spending on things that are unnecessary at that given time. Before we liquidate the money that we have in these investments, we have thought twice and thrice, because it is a process that we have to do before we can access this cash. And so you find that majority of the time, when you slip over a certain transaction or expense that you want to undertake, we realize that there is no immediate need. And so we find it helps us with delayed gratification. Because again, when you have a lot of money around, laying around, you find that you cannot be able to have delayed gratification. You find yourself, you are spending too fast, too much, and you cannot be able to put that thought into ensuring that you make a decision that is not purely emotional or instantaneous and does not make financial sense in the future. So how much money do we keep? We usually keep around a year's worth of expenses in these liquid assets. This year's amount of money into these liquid investments would be able to enable us to be able to meet our expenses or our needs at least for a year, should there be an unexpected issue that comes along. So there are those investments that we have that are highly illiquid, things like land and property and things like that we cannot liquidate immediately. Those ones are aside. Then we have a certain an additional class of investments that are a little bit liquid. They cannot be liquidated as quickly and may be able to take at least 3 months, but they are still there. But we always ensure that we have a portfolio that is balanced, so that we do not have a lot of money in one class or asset that is highly liquid, because then we might find ourselves liquidating too fast. Again, it is also for security reasons. You find that if an asset can easily be liquidated, then it can also be easily stolen. So if somebody has a password to your stock brokerage account, or passwords to your investments in shares and ETFs and things like that, they could be able to enter, sell, and move on very fast. But if you have, say, certain investments in land, before somebody can be able to access your land and sell it, it is a process. So when we have several assets or investments in several assets that are a bit illiquid, it also helps us in terms of security, because nobody can liquidate it as fast, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we also have to take care of our children in the future, and liquid assets are a bit they are affected by inflation. Remember, when you have a lot of money set aside in cash, it is affected by inflation, meaning that if you have 1,000, it will remain 1,000 even after a few months or a few years, because it's still 1,000. But if you have this 1,000 invested, say, in shares or ETFs or in land or in whatever, this investment increases and is able to grow and earns capital gain. So there is a certain gain on this asset. So if you bought, say, 1,000, that is just for example 1,000 in land. This 1,000 in land in the next 1 year might be 1,100 after 1 year. So you have gained this 100. And even if the rate of inflation in your country or in your region was, say, 7%, then the inflation on the 1,000 would be 1,070, for example, 1,070. But you made 1,100. So already you have covered the inflation. So by having money in form of cash, you are running a risk of not being able to take care of the inflation that is beforehand. So those are the reasons why I consider not having cash in terms of having money that is uninvested with me, because I can be able to access investments, I can be able to liquidate within a day. So ladies and gentlemen, please consider not having cash lying around. At least have it in liquid assets that can be able to liquidate but are still earning capital gains and interest and dividends and things like that. So I hope that I've been helpful to you. So as you consider having some money in your balance of portfolio or having certain money that is uninvested, consider having your money in liquid assets, because then you can still be able to access it as money at, say, after a day or after a week, but it is still generating money on your end. So thank you and enjoy your day.